What if Ash fully evolved all his Pokemon? In this video, Brock evolves his Pokemon, Misty defeats Ash. To find out what happens, watch with me part 6 of the Johto saga of our story. Let's start with the video. As our heroes make their way to Olivine City, they spot a strange horn emerging from the nearby lake, followed by a Rhydon surfacing from the water. Misty remarks that a rock-type Pokemon that loves swimming is unheard of. Just then, a young girl named Pietra overhears the conversation and confirms that this particular Rhydon has indeed learned to use Surf. Pietra explains that she hopes to catch the swimming Rhydon to help complete a tunnel project. Her ground-type Pokemon flee whenever water leaks through the ceiling, but a water-loving Rhydon would be perfect for the job. Hearing this, Ash and his friends offer to help Pietra catch the Rhydon by training her Pokemon. Team Rocket, overhearing the conversation, plot to capture the swimming Rhydon for themselves. Brock steps up first, sending out his Onix to help train Pietra's Marill. Onix thrashes Marill around, pushing it to its limits, and eventually, Marill learns to stay calm under pressure. Next, Misty takes over, using Poliwhirl's water-type attacks to teach Marill how to dodge and find weaknesses in its opponents. Through several failed attempts and careful observation, Marill learns to use its smaller size to its advantage. Finally, Ash takes his turn to train Pietra. He emphasizes the importance of surprising opponents and uses Bayleaf to demonstrate how to utilize the environment during battles. Ash shows Marill how to combine Double Team with other attacks, and soon, Marill masters using Double Team in combination with Rollout, Ice Punch, and Bubble Beam. After the training, Pietra leads the group to the site of several Rhydon footprints. Ash spots an apple on the ground, and Pietra explains that Rhydon loves to eat apples. They decide to wait by an apple tree, and soon enough, their target appears. Pietra demands a battle, but Rhydon dismisses her challenge. Team Rocket seizes the opportunity and nets Rhydon, soaring into the sky in their Meowth balloon. Brock sends out his Golbat and its sky attack slashes Team Rocket's balloon, causing them to plummet into the lake below. Team Rocket emerges unscathed on their Wobbuffet life raft. As James begins to row away, Pietra jumps into her speedboat with Ash's group aboard. Ash's Noctowl uses Air Slash to free Rhydon from the capture net, and it promptly leaps into the lake. Misty and Whirl send Team Rocket blasting off again with a Bubble Beam attack. Determined, Pietra dives into the water after Rhydon, latching onto its neck. Rhydon dives deep, but Pietra clings on. Even as Rhydon breaches the surface and swims off, Brock takes control of the speedboat and they reach a lake island where Pietra eventually loses her grip. She pleads with Rhydon, and seeing her determination, Rhydon turns around to accept her challenge. The battle begins fiercely. Rhydon launches a massive Hydro Pump, but Pietra remains calm, guiding Marill to dodge it successfully. Pietra commands Marill to use Double Team, creating multiple illusions. The real Marill lands several Ice Punches, causing Rhydon to freeze. Rhydon tries to break free with Hammer Arm, but Marill uses Rollout repeatedly, keeping Rhydon distracted and dealing increasing damage with each hit. Rhydon, now majorly weakened, launches a desperate Horn Drill, landing a powerful blow on Marill. Despite the damage, Azumarill refuses to give up. It starts glowing and evolves into Azumarill. With newfound strength, Pietra calls for a Double Team and Bubble Beam combo, overwhelming Rhydon and finally defeating it. Pietra throws a Pokeball and captures the swimming Rhydon. Overjoyed, she thanks Azumarill for its assistance. The group celebrates their success and ventures back to the work-in-progress tunnel. Pietra calls out her newly caught Rhydon to break through to the other side. As expected, Rhydon is unfazed by the trickling water. With a powerful Horn Drill followed by a Hammer Arm attack, Rhydon smashes through the stone wall. Everyone gazes at the light flooding the tunnel, and after saying their goodbyes to Pietra and her Rhydon, Ash and his friends continue their journey towards Olivine City, ready for their next adventure. As our heroes make their way to Olivine City, they arrive at the shores of Lake Lucid. Misty is particularly excited as the local Pokemon Center is renowned for its specialty in caring for water-type Pokemon. As they look around, Pikachu notices bubbles in the water, and suddenly, a person in a full scuba suit emerges holding a Goldeen. The person orders her to Chansey to replace Goldeen's bandages and promptly places it in a water stretcher, a fish tank on wheels. The person removes their scuba suit helmet, revealing herself to be Nurse Joy. Misty, starstruck, is rendered speechless. Joy invites everyone into the Pokemon Center to treat Pikachu for his exhaustion. Inside, Nurse Joy shares the history of Lake Lucid, explaining how her grandmother and mother worked tirelessly to restore its pristine environment. The group admires the various water types battling each other, which Nurse Joy explains is how they keep fit. Brock credits their health to her world-class care. Nurse Joy recharges Pikachu, instantly energizing him. Misty, eager to have her Pokemon checked, presents her Pokeballs to Nurse Joy, only for Joy to recoil in fear. The group is shocked when Nurse Joy admits she actually hates water Pokemon. Despite her fear, she agrees to treat Misty's Pokemon, but only while wearing her protective dive suit. Hurt by Joy's reluctance, Misty declines her services, choosing to carry her Pokeballs into the treatment area herself. During their tour, Misty is startled by a roaring Gyarados. Nurse Joy explains that everyone has their fears, revealing her own fear of water Pokemon due to a childhood incident involving a school of Remoraid. Misty, disappointed by her idol's attitude, questions Joy's understanding of water types. Joy insists that she doesn't need to be emotionally involved to provide proper care, but Misty remains unconvinced. Suddenly, Team Rocket's Tentacruel submarine appears. Nurse Joy quickly identifies the fake, prompting Team Rocket to reveal themselves. A battle ensues, and our heroes easily deal with Team Rocket. However, the mecha explodes and debris shatters Gyarados' tank. The surge of water washes away Joy's protective suit, leaving her vulnerable. Gyarados, now free from its neck brace, becomes enraged. Ash rushes to help but is smacked away. Gyarados advances towards the paralyzed Nurse Joy. Misty, seeing the danger, leaps to save her, succeeding just in time. However, Gyarados becomes even angrier. Misty, facing her own fear, sends out Magikarp instead of Poliwhirl. Gyarados swats Magikarp aside and goes after Misty. Overcoming her fear, Misty commands Magikarp to tackle. Motivated by Misty's bravery, Magikarp evolves into a massive Gyarados, overpowering and subduing the rampaging Gyarados. Misty's Gyarados then returns to her, and despite her lingering fear, Misty allows it to hug her. Inspired by Misty's courage, Joy decides to help the knocked out Gyarados without her suit. She nervously applies medicine around its neck, calming it with gentle pats. Chansey quickly places another cast on Gyarados. Later, Nurse Joy admits she still doesn't like water Pokemon, but feels compelled to try her best as a Pokemon nurse, especially after witnessing Misty's bravery. Misty encourages her with a hug, and the gang wishes Joy the best of luck before heading off to Olivine City. As Ash and his friends reach Olivine City, Brock reminds Ash of the parcel from Professor Elm. Ash heads to the Pokemon Center and asks Nurse Joy about it, only to learn that Professor Elm had already picked it up and left a note for Ash. The note reads, "Hey Ash, I'm on my way to Blue Point Isle in the Whirl Islands. Meet me there after your gym battle in Olivine. You'll love what I have to offer." Intrigued, the group heads to the Olivine Gym, eager to breeze through the battle. As they enter, a girl claims to be the gym leader, Jasmine, and Ash challenges her to a fight. Jasmine accepts and selects an onyx coated with a mysterious substance. Ash calls out Croconaw, confident in a quick victory with Water Gun. However, Onyx shrugs off the water attack and counters with a powerful tackle, knocking Croconaw back. Just then, a voice calls for the match to stop. The real Jasmine appears, revealing the girl as her apprentice, Janina. Jasmine demands an explanation, and Janina admits to coating Onyx in water-repellent wax. Disappointed, Jasmine expels Janina to learn the true essence of bonding with her Pokemon. Ash and his friends find Janina scrubbing the wax off Onyx at a nearby park. Brock advises her to focus on her Pokemon's natural strengths, which encourages Janina, who recalls Jasmine saying something similar. Ash, reminded of his gym battle, asks where Jasmine might be. Janina reveals that Jasmine has been preoccupied at the Shining Lighthouse. At the pier, they spot 2 lighthouses. Brock's guidebook explains that the smaller one, the Shining Lighthouse, is the oldest. At the top, they find Jasmine, her grandfather Myron, and an ill Ampharos named Sparkle. Ash challenges Jasmine, but she explains that Sparkle needs time to recover. Myron explains that Ampharos lights the lighthouse with its glowing tail. They ordered medicine from Cianwood City, but neither has time to retrieve it. Ash volunteers to get the medicine. Team Rocket, spying from outside, launches a mystery missile that smashes through the lighthouse's roof, releasing a smoke screen from Wheezing. Amidst the chaos, Team Rocket captures Ampharos and Eevee. Janina, alerted by the smoke, rushes to the scene. She orders Onyx to retrieve the cage holding Ampharos and Eevee. Jessie sends out Arbok, but Janina, trusting in herself and Onyx, overpowers Arbok, Meowth, and Wheezing. Janina grabs a rock and climbs up to the cage, breaking the lock and freeing the Pokémon. Ash and the others arrive, relieved and proud of Janina. Together, Janina and Ash send Team Rocket blasting off with a combined attack from Onix and Pikachu. Jasmine, impressed with Janina, is happily reunited with Sparkle. However, Ash notices that Eevee has contracted the illness from Ampharos. Worried, Ash decides to accompany Janina to Chinwood City for the medicine. Jasmine assures Janina that she still has a place at the Olivine Gym. Myron mentions that Ash can challenge the Cianwood Gym after healing Eevee. Brock suggests catching Eevee to avoid spreading the illness during the journey. Misty agrees, and Ash gently convinces the sick Eevee to be caught. With Eevee now in a Pokeball, Ash and his friends join Janina on the ship to Cianwood City. As the ship leaves port, Brock learns more about the Whirl Islands from Jasmine. Unbeknownst to them, the Rocket Trio is also pulled up as the ship's anchor lifts from the seafloor. After Ash and his friends arrive in Chinwood City, they head straight to the local pharmacy where Janina picks up the medicine for Sparkle back in Olivine City. Ash also gets medicine for Eevee, which helps the Pokemon recover, though the pharmacist advises that Eevee should rest for a few days. Janina learns of an express ferry to Olivine City, ensuring she'll be back before nightfall. The gang watches from the pier as Janina leaves aboard the ferry, deciding to stay as Ash wants to challenge the Cianwood Gym. Suddenly, a commotion catches their attention. They spot a man training alongside his Machoke in intense sparring exercises. The group rushes to help, but the man seems fine and hugs his Machoke in a tearful embrace for its effort. He spots Ash and deduces he's a trainer seeking a gym battle. Ash agrees, and the man with a twinkle in his eye leads them to the Cianwood Gym, marching double time. Machoke arrives at the gym first, followed by Ash and his friends, and finally the man who falls to his knees in exhaustion. All of his students and fighting-type Pokemon rush out to greet their master. Ash realizes the man is Chuck, the Cianwood Gym leader. Everyone sits around a dining table for a nutrient-rich meal. Chuck's wife, busy bringing out more dishes, asks Ash if he's here to battle for a Storm Badge. When Ash confirms, she says he should have no problem beating her flabby husband. To which Chuck retorts with playful banter. At the dinner table, Misty praises the delicious food and Brock reveals it's Pokemon Power Food, used to strengthen trainers and Pokemon alike. Chuck then declares it's time for the gym match. Everyone moves to the gym floor, where the referee announces the conditions. Chuck reveals he will use Machoke and Poliwrath, starting with Poliwrath. Ash selects Noctowl and orders a Sky Attack. Poliwrath dodges, but Noctowl follows up with a Psychic, freezing Poliwrath in place. Ash then orders an Air Slash, which lands super effectively. Chuck commands Poliwrath to focus its energy and land a Dynamic Punch, but Noctowl swiftly dodges. A double slap from Poliwrath knocks Noctowl to the ground. Chuck tries to seize the chance with a Body Slam, but Ash has Noctowl freeze Poliwrath with Psychic, then thrash it into the roof and ground. Noctowl finishes the matchup with an Air Slash, winning but taking damage from a super effective Ice Beam. Misty and Brock are impressed with Ash's strategy, but note Poliwrath helped wear Noctowl down. Chuck, teary-eyed, compliments Poliwrath for a well-fought battle. He then turns to Machoke and commands it to attack with Karate Chop, catching Noctowl off guard. Chuck follows with a massive Thunder Punch, finishing Noctowl off. Ash sends out Saida, who launches a Giga Impact. Machoke counters with a focus punch and both Pokemon are sent flying. Chuck grins and orders Machoke to grab Scyther for a seismic toss. Ash tells Scyther to brace for the attack, and it successfully does. Ash then orders a fury of air slashes, weakening Machoke significantly. Chuck calls for a final attack from each side. Ash grins and calls for Giga Impact as Machoke launches a massive focus punch. The attacks clash, and Machoke hits the ground, unable to get up, while Scyther stands victorious. The referee declares Ash and Scyther the winners. Ash proudly hugs Scyther as Chuck compliments their strength and presents Ash with the Storm Badge and a black belt for his fighting-type Pokemon. That night, Ash contacts Janina on the video phone. She informs him that Sparkle is feeling much better thanks to the medicine, but Jasmine still needs time before resuming her gym leader duties. Ash understands and thanks Janina before hanging up. Chuck and his wife overhear the news and suggest the group travel to the Whirl Islands, mentioning mysterious Pokemon and the upcoming World Cup. Chuck's wife gifts Ash a card to cover their ferry passage. The next day, Ash and his friends board the ship bound for the Whirl Islands. Chuck, his wife, and Machoke wave goodbye as the ship sails away from Chienwood City. During the voyage, the Brock turns the group's attention to the wonders of the Whirl Islands and the mysterious parcel from Professor Elm. Ash and his friends are on the boat deck excitedly discussing their expectations for their adventures in the Whirl Islands. As they approach several large whirlpools, the group is instantly alarmed. Suddenly, Team Rocket reveals themselves and Jesse and James call on Arbok and Weezing to use Poison Sting and Smog. Ash tries to end the battle quickly and orders Pikachu to use Thunder, but Jesse has Woe Buffet counter the attack, causing a massive surge that sends both groups overboard. Ash and his friends panic as the ship continues ahead without them, and they soon find themselves being sucked into a whirlpool. They swim frantically trying to escape, but the current is too strong. Just when it seems hopeless, the currents shift and the group realizes they are safe. They see a mysterious silhouette swimming beneath them and hear a peculiar call. A Pokemon appears and Brock recognizes it as a Corsola. The Corsola races toward them and circles around them protectively. Suddenly, they are lifted by some tentacles, which they realize belong to a Tentacruel. The Tentacruel carefully carries them towards a boat. Misty is thrilled by the experience, though the others seem quite afraid. The Corsola leaps from the ocean into the arms of its trainer, Professor Elm, who happens to be on board. Professor Elm and Ash catch up, and Misty admires the professor's Corsola. Elm takes a few minutes to explain Corsola and its abilities to Misty. Elm is thrilled that the kids are safe, thanks to Corsola and Tentacruel's efforts. Captain Marius enters the scene and introduces himself. He steers his ship to Blue Point Isles Inland City, the entryway to the Whirl Islands. The group notices the city is particularly colorful, and Marius and Elm explain that it's all for the upcoming World Cup, a water Pokemon battle tournament held every 3 years. Misty is instantly keen to compete, but Professor Elm explains that the event is more than a month away. The group decides to head to the Pokemon Center, where Nurse Joy hands Ash an official World Cup guidebook and registers both Ash and Misty for the competition. While Corsola plays in the pool, Professor Elm informs Ash and Misty that many Whirl Island trainers specialize in water Pokemon. Ash feels a little uneasy about the tough competition, though Misty feels right in her element. Elm shows them a map of the Whirl Islands and says the World Cup will be held on Red Rock Isle, 2 islands north of their current location. Later, Marius and Elm prepare a submersible machine for their next expedition. This is when Ash and his friends approach them about the mysterious creature they saw earlier. Captain Marius is unsurprised and hints that local legends of such a creature do exist. Ash then asks about the package Professor Elm had for him. Elm excitedly reveals a Pokemon egg and asks Ash to hold it, causing the egg to glow, much to everyone's excitement. But it's only a false alarm. Elm, realizing something, asks Ash to take care of the egg, explaining that he wants to track the growth of this special Pokemon egg. Before Ash and his friends can ask more questions, Elm and Marius are called away for their expedition. At night, Ash contacts Professor Oak on the center's video phone to discuss the mysterious Pokemon he saw and the egg. Oak grins and is coy about the egg, before ending the call mysteriously. The following day, Nurse Joy tells the group they should take the next ferry from Blue Finland to reach Yellow Rock Isle. Brock confirms the details in his handbook, and the group sets off on foot towards Blue Finland, eager for their next adventure. Ash, Misty, and Brock arrive in Mega City on Yellow Rock Isle, eager to explore the town. As they wander, Misty spots a unique gift shop with jewelry-like objects made of pink crystal. Intrigued, she picks up an item, and the shop clerk informs her that all the pieces are made from Corsola horn. Misty is instantly excited, determined to catch her own Corsola. As they continue exploring, they notice a floating house with a girl and a Corsola on it. Suddenly, the girl screams for help as a nearby whirlpool starts dragging her in. The gang springs into action. Ash calls out Croconaw, Misty summons Poliwhirl, and Brock releases Onyx to help stabilize the house. With combined efforts, they manage to pull the girl to safety. The young girl, Mika, reunites with her concerned family on the beach. Brock quickly notices the older sister, Andrea, who explains that their house was constructed on top of a Corsola nest, like many homes across Yellow Rock Isle. Andrea mentions that their father is a Corsola horn artist who uses the local Corsola for his creations. She adds that their family pet Corsola is particularly energetic and led the other Corsola to leave suddenly, weakening the home's foundation and allowing it to be washed out to sea. Misty expresses her desire to catch this Corsola, but Brock reminds her of the family's need for the Corsola. Andrea appreciates their understanding and explains that they need the Corsola for their livelihood. Ash and his friends volunteer to help find the Corsola. While searching, they encounter Team Rocket, who has captured a shop owner. Misty quickly calls on Poliwhirl and Gyarados to rescue the shop owner and send Team Rocket blasting off. The family and Ash's group find the Corsola nest, and Andrea counts all the Corsola, declaring that all are accounted for. Suddenly, Team Rocket appears and captures all the Corsola except for the energetic one, thanks to Misty kicking away the rope. Misty, with the energetic Corsola's help, sends Team Rocket blasting off again with a powerful combination of attacks. Having desired a Corsola for some time, Misty asks Mika if she can capture the energetic Corsola. Mika agrees, having seen Misty's teamwork with Corsola and appreciating her help. Misty sends out Poliwhirl to battle the energetic Corsola. Poliwhirl starts with Bubble, but Corsola counters with Tackle, sending Poliwhirl sliding backward. Poliwhirl responds with Double Slap, but Corsola uses Recover, healing its wounds. Poliwhirl tries Water Gun, but Corsola deflects it with Mirror Coat. Realizing she needs to act quickly, Misty orders Poliwhirl to use Bubble and Double Slap again, followed by Tackle, weakening Corsola. Brock urges Misty to act fast, and she throws a lure ball at Corsola before it can recover again. The ball shakes and then clicks shut, and Misty is overjoyed to finally capture Corsola. Andrea and her family thank Ash and his friends for their help. Andrea tells Misty to take good care of her new Corsola, and Misty promises that Corsola is now part of their family. With their mission accomplished, the gang heads off to the next town on the island, ready for their next adventure. Ash and his friends have finally reached Scarlet City, the site of the World Cup tournament. As they enter the Pokémon Center to register for the preliminary rounds, Brock tells Ash and Misty to stop arguing over who is going to win. Inside, Nurse Joy hands them a map of the tournament grounds, explaining that Ash will compete in Stadium A, while Misty's first round will be in Stadium B. Joy goes through her database and reveals that 2 wins are required to enter the actual World Cup event, as only 64 competitors can qualify. After registering, the group eats some icy poles outside. They are suddenly approached by a young trainer, Marcellus, who pleads with Ash to battle his Remoraid. Misty, intrigued, asks for details. Marcellus explains that he wants to evolve his Remoraid into an Octillery, believing it will be perfectly suited for the World Cup since most of the battles will occur on land. Misty decides to accept the challenge instead of Ash and calls on her Corsola to face Marcellus's Remoraid. The battle is fierce, but Marcellus's determination pays off as his Remoraid evolves into Octillery after a hard-fought victory. That night, Brock is deep in thought, contemplating whether he should evolve his Vulpix to achieve its full potential. The next day, the preliminary matches begin. Ash sends out Croconaw against a trainer's seal. Croconaw's fancy footwork helps it avoid multiple ice beams before knocking Seal out with a powerful water gun attack. Misty's first round goes smoothly as her Poliwhirl double slaps a Magikarp out of the competition. In the second round, Ash's Croconaw defeats a Shelder with ease. Meanwhile, Misty's Gyarados tanks several direct hits from a Seaking and lands a decisive tackle, securing her second win and advancing both her and Ash into the main World Cup tournament. Back at the Pokemon Center, Ash and Misty celebrate their victories. They notice Marcellus walking by looking glum. Ash tactlessly points out that Marcellus must have lost. Misty offers him some advice, cheering him up, and he invites them to his place for dinner. At Marcellus's mansion, the group enters a room with several aquariums filled with Remoraid. Marcellus explains that he has caught Remoraid from all over, including the Southern Sea. He admits that his Pokemon are taking a while to evolve and introduces his only Octillery. When Octillery is placed in one of the tanks, the Remoraids swim away. After being struck by several water guns, Octillery retreats into a ceramic jar, feeling rejected. Marcellus explains that Octillery's feelings of exclusion affected its concentration during the preliminaries, leading to their loss. Brock, seeing Octillery's plight, begins to worry about his own Pokemon. He wonders if evolving Vulpix into Ninetales might cause a similar disconnect among his team. However, later that night, Octillery heroically saves the Remoraid from Team Rocket, earning their trust and friendship. Pikachu's Thunder and Octillery's Octazooka send Team Rocket blasting off. Inspired, all the Remoraid evolve into Octillery, ensuring Marcellus's Octillery won't be lonely anymore. Encouraged by the day's events, Brock brings up the idea of evolving Vulpix to the group. Despite his fears, all the Pokemon, including Vulpix, are excited. With newfound confidence, Brock uses a Firestone on Vulpix. As she begins to glow, the gang watches in awe as a majestic Ninetales emerges. Their jaws drop, but Brock's concerns are alleviated as Ninetales is warmly accepted by the other Pokemon and remains affectionate towards him. The gang celebrates over dinner, and the next day, Ash, Misty, Brock, Marcellus, and the finalist trainers gather at a cliff to watch the World Cup Stadium rise from the swirling seas, partially flooded and ready for the real battles to begin. A large crowd has gathered in the stands, and the participating trainers are in gondolas as the World Cup tournament's opening ceremony begins. The announcer explains the history of the event and draws everyone's attention to the Sea Priestess, Maya. The announcer declares that the prize for the crowned Alpha Omega will be a mystic water pendant. In the lead up to the tournament, Ash and Misty get into a heated argument over who will win. Brock steps in to cool them down and reminds Ash that he only has one water Pokemon. Ash quickly calls Professor Oak from the Pokemon Center. At Oak's suggestion, Ash sends Bayleaf back and receives Kingler in return. The World Cup's sixth match of the first round pits Ash against Christopher. Ash sends out Croconaw while Christopher calls out Kingdra. Ash scans Kingdra with his Pokedex, noting that its dual water and dragon type makes Croconaw's water attacks practically useless. Ash orders Croconaw to dive, but Kingdra counters with a Twister, forcing Croconaw out of the water. Kingdra then aims a water gun at Croconaw, who dodges with Dragon Dance. Christopher commands a Hydro Pump, but Croconaw dodges again with another Dragon Dance, closing in to land a powerful bite on Kingdra. Frustrated, Christopher orders Kingdra to release a smokescreen, clouding the water. With visibility lost, Ash tells Croconaw to stay out of the water and wait. Croconaw stacks Dragon Dance after Dragon Dance, boosting its speed and power. Running out of patience, Christopher has Kingdra resurface and try another Hydro Pump. Croconaw counters with a Mud Slap, blinding Kingdra and causing it to miss. Taking advantage of Kingdra's impaired vision, Croconaw lands a massive bite, followed by a water gun, sending Kingdra flying across the stadium and knocking it out. Ash wins the match and advances to the next round. Misty easily defeats an unknown trainer with her Poliwhirl, who perfects the move Body Slam during the battle. The first day of the World Cup ends with both Ash and Misty advancing to the third round after winning their second round matches. Back at the Pokemon Center, Ash and Misty congratulate each other on making it to the second round. That night, Misty stares at the Colosseum from her Pokemon Center room window. Ash offers her reassurance and Misty declares she is simply excited about the upcoming match. Day 2 of the World Cup begins with Ash and Misty's battles starting simultaneously. Ash faces Harrison, an older trainer with a snobbish attitude. Ash uses Kingler against Harrison's Qwilfish. Qwilfish starts with a water gun, but Kingler cuts through it with Razor Shell. Seeing this tactic fail, Harrison orders Qwilfish to prepare a pin missile barrage. Ash instructs Kingler to hide under a platform in the water, dodging the attack. Kingler then strikes with a powerful hammer arm, dealing major damage to Qwilfish. Harrison desperately calls for a takedown, but Kingler counters with X-Scissor, sending Qwilfish crashing. Qwilfish retaliates with Bubble Beam, but Kingler cuts through with Razor Shell and finishes with Hammer Arm, sending Qwilfish sky high. Ash wins the match and advances to the finals. Misty's third round match is against a female trainer named Trinity, who wishes her good luck and sends out her Gyarados. Misty, unafraid, sends out Poliwhirl. Misty commands a Bubble Beam, but Gyarados counters with a Hyper Beam, pushing Poliwhirl back and dealing significant damage. Misty quickly orders Hypnosis on the recharging Gyarados, putting it to sleep. Poliwhirl lands 3 consecutive body slams and blinds Gyarados with Mud Slap. The weakened Gyarados wakes up but is blinded by the mud. Before Trinity can react, Misty commands Poliwhirl to finish Gyarados with an Ice Punch, an imperfect move it learned from Ash's Snorlax. The Ice Punch is enough to knock out Gyarados, and Misty wins, advancing to the finals. As the screen displays the matchups for tomorrow's final, Ash and Misty realize they will be battling each other. From different parts of the Colosseum, they stare at each other in shock, ready for the ultimate showdown. The following night, Ash and Misty ate their dinners separately, their minds fully focused on defeating each other in the final. This opportunity meant the world to Misty, marking a crucial step toward realizing her dream of becoming the best water-type trainer. Ash, meanwhile, was excited to see Misty's growth and especially eager to win against her formidable Gyarados. They rested that night, only to meet in the stadium the next day. They wished each other the best and prepared for their 2-on-2 World Cup final match. Misty sent out Poliwhirl, while Ash countered with Croconaw. Poliwhirl launched a Bubble Beam, but Ash caught Misty off guard by calling for an Ice Fang, which cut through the attack and landed on Poliwhirl. Realizing Ash had grown through the tournament, Misty decided to use her trump card, Hypnosis. Predicting this move, Ash instructed Croconaw to blind itself with Mud Slap and rely on its hearing and Ash's commands. Misty, impressed, ordered another Bubble Beam, but Croconaw countered with another Ice Fang, cutting through the attack again and landing a bite on Poliwhirl, weakening it significantly. Frustrated, Misty ordered Poliwhirl to dive into the water and surprise Croconaw by breaking the platform it stood on. Poliwhirl succeeded, washing off the mud from Croconaw's eyes and successfully hypnotizing it, causing Croconaw to fall asleep. Poliwhirl then threw Croconaw onto another platform and landed a massive body slam, significantly weakening it and waking it up due to the pain. Ash praised Misty and called for a final bite. Misty encouraged Poliwhirl to tank the attack, which it did, but was caught off guard as Croconaw used an Ice Fang instead, freezing Poliwhirl and finishing it off with a water gun. Amazed at Ash's strength, Misty sent out her Gyarados. Knowing Croconaw was nearly finished, Ash called for an Ice Fang. Misty had Gyarados copy the move, and to Ash's surprise, it landed a bigger Ice Fang, overpowering and finishing off Croconaw. Ash praised Misty's Gyarados and sent in his Kingler, immediately calling for a quick X-Scissor, surprising Misty. She countered with a massive Dragon Tail, which Kingler tried to block with Hammer Arm, but Gyarados proved too strong and too large. After taking damage, Kingler launched all the platforms in the stadium into the air, and on Ash's command, dug through them in sequence, catching both Misty and Gyarados off guard and landing a Razor Shell on Gyarados. Realizing she needed to finish the match quickly, Misty called for a Splash L that totally overwhelmed and blinded Kingler with a huge wave of water. Gyarados followed up by emerging from the wave to land a massive crunch. Ash asked Kingler to block with Hammer Arm, And to everyone's surprise, it succeeded. Misty quickly ordered Gyarados to switch from Crunch to Ice Fang, freezing Kingler. Ash, seeing his strategy used against him, asked Kingler to land Hammer Arm with its unfrozen arm, which Misty countered with a Dragon Tail. The two attacks clashed, sending water flying everywhere. When the field calmed, Gyarados was the last one standing, though barely. Ash, super impressed, applauded Misty from the other end. Misty, emotionally overwhelmed, claimed her best ever victory against Ash. Ash and Brock rushed to hug her, and Gyarados joined in. Misty thanked all her friends for helping her get this strong. Ash, seeing her so emotional, smiled and placed his hat on her head, telling her he was super proud of how far she had come as a water-type specialist. Misty, smiling with tear-filled eyes, stood proud as the award ceremony began, and she was gifted the Mystic Water Pendant, with Ash winning second place. Maya raised her staff toward the setting sun, and it started to glow. The next day, Misty, the World Cup champion, and the boys watched the Colosseum flood once again as they reminisced about all they had learned while competing in the World Cup. I hope you guys enjoyed this Misty-focused part of the series. Part 7 will come out in 2 weeks. Next week, we will go with Part 2 of our Dragon Ball What If. Thank you all for your constant support. Peace, Dragon Guide.